Andrew, thank you for coming on and talking to us. I'm really looking forward to this. As I just said, I've been a huge fan of yours for quite some time. I'm definitely having a fanboy moment, and this is something I'm very, very excited about.
You're too kind. I think Australians and Canadians get along very well because we both identify as non-Americans. So
Yeah, maybe I'll be
we got
saying
to.
sorry quite a bit during this this call to
Oh well, we love the Americans, and they're a big force in watch media. So we don't want to lose any friends here, but equally, I think there's something to be said about the rebel territories that are doing interesting things outside of the UK and the US, and which is certainly where we live.
Do you want to maybe give the viewers a quick intro of yourself? I highly doubt there's nobody that doesn't know who you are, but just in case there are some out there.
Well, I think there's probably a few. Uh, look, my story in watches is that I started Time and Tide in 2014. We just had our 10-year birthday at the start of the year in Melbourne in our first Discovery studio. And over that 10 years, yeah, we've transitioned from being a traditional media kind of watch site to having these Discovery studios, which are giving people access to watches they can't get at retail in retail environments, and also kind of the hype brands on the internet. I'm so connected to a lot of these founders. I have to admit, I've had 2 pints in the last 40 minutes, so I might be a little more truthful than usual. Though after about Effing Time, I was pretty truthful, sober or drunk on about Effing Time. So that's kind of my Aussie vibe. But we, yeah, have evolved into a different kind of business. But I'm standing now outside the front of our new studio in London that at the moment is an empty space. And we found a bit of a different space to inhabit as a business. And I hope that everyone listening is, accept my invitation to come see us. Like, we've got two big 170 square meter spaces in Melbourne and now London to, like, at the moment, where I had 2 pints with a guy called Jerome who started a brand called Serica. So we had a lot to catch up on. And I loved hearing his story, and we're going to work with them in the studio. We'll be the only place in London you can get Serica. So things have changed for us, but it's all stuff that I think you and the great Canadian watch community are going to be really interested in, because it's about bringing these great brands that traditionally haven't had a sort of a public interface, giving them somewhere to connect with the communities in the UK as well as Oz. So that's my quick story. But somewhere in there, did a podcast with two friends, and that kicked off. And somewhere in there, went from digital to print, and then and somewhere in there went from print to retail. So
That's an amazing story. And once again, like I said, complete fanboy moment because I've watched all of those podcasts. I've been reading for a very long time, so it
what
truly
sticks
is an
out to you, man?
honor.
What are the moments like? That's very kind of you to say, but is there anything in particular that? How did you kind of first get on board? Was it through Time and Tide?
Yeah, that's a really good question. I so Time and Tide kind of started it. I've been a huge fan of Adrian as well. I've pretty much watched every single one of the videos that he's made. The reason why I have a 36 mil Explorer is because of him.
Captain
And
Boring, he's a powerful dude.
you know, just kind of going from there and reaching out to like kind of like all the other connections that you guys have, and then ingraining myself more and more within, some of the higher level influencers like yourself that are in the watch community. And then for me, the
You
stuff that I
think I'm an
love watching.
influencer, Aman? You'd call me that? I feel like that's a bit of
I,
a dirty word.
well, you've influenced me, so therefore you are an influencer.
That's a pure place to start, as long as I'm
Right?
not posing as one. Because I mean, as recently as today, like, I realized that I wear True Classic t-shirts all the time, and this is like a big influencer product, and I've been influenced to buy these t-shirts, and they reposted me again like in the last 24 hours, and I just wrote to them and said, I think you should be sending me free t-shirts right now. Like, this is my first influencer play, so it just happened today, but I'm like, I think I do influence people to buy True Classic because I tag you guys in these stupid fucking posts that you know,
Well, let's
it's not my gig to be an influencer, but if I can get some free t-shirts, I'll take it.
let's go with a watch expert that has a tremendous reach.
Thank you. Look, I'll take anything. I mean, at the moment, all I really want to be known for is Time and Tide, and About Effing Time obviously was that was just an absolute riot. Like, yeah, we can talk about that if you want to later on, but that's a separate sort of moment. That was a real Three Amigos moment where you do something that doesn't feel like work and it actually does more work for you than anything that felt like work. So that was a great little adventure, but definitely my life, my all in is Time and Tide, and God, I love that. I love what we've done with my team there, and I feel like we're truly 10% of the way there. So there's 90% to come with that brand, which I can tell you more about. But influencer, that this is something, I'm such an amateur that I wrote to Truth Classic and said, "Could you send me a T-shirt?" Because you know, this is getting silly now.
But yeah, I loved watching every episode of About Effing Time, and it's
How
just
good was the Marcus episode? Wasn't that the best episode? The
I
getting a
think
watch stolen twice.
every single one was fantastic. There wasn't a single episode where I skipped through it because your personalities. I mean, for me, it was akin to watching, the old days of Jeremy Clarkson and his
Mm-hmm.
and Richard Hammond and James May. Like that's kind of what that reminded me of, but in the watch world. And personally, I loved it. I loved every moment of it, the way that you guys interacted, the brands you've worked with. That's actually what got me into Studio Underdog in the first place, right? Was when you
Yeah,
guys talked about the brands on
actually,
About
that's funny
Effing
you
Time.
say that because over these furious 2 pints where I said to Jerome, we're going to have to power drink because I've got an appointment, I've got a date at 3 o'clock with the Canadian. Um, it, I said to him, hang on, didn't we do a BYOI on you? He's like, yeah, yeah, we did. You did. So it's all a bit of a blur, but all of those BYO, nothing was paid. The whole thing was pure passion. So every brand we mentioned, whether it's Richard or Etienne from Baltic or Andrea from Fairland or Jerome from Serica, we just deeply feel these brands. Well, particularly me, because Adrian and George, I think it's not so much a part of their world. George obviously is a micro brand or he's a brand himself, but Time and Tide started Micro Monday about 5 years ago, and that was when we started to really just go in deep on micros because um, they are the future. Like Jerome from Serica, he's got some cool shit coming. Like I can't tell you anything, but if you like the Serica, if you like Serica's whole bag, which I just think I love the discipline in what they do. They've got 3 collections. They got 11 models in total. Um, yeah. Anyway, I'm clearly really into it, and to have built a studio where after today, I think it's fair to say we are going to exclusively stock Serica in London. This is crazy. This is like a dream come true.
That's absolutely amazing. Well,
But
maybe
but
we can.
BYOI was definitely a little twist of, you know, I said, yeah, yeah, let's do these chats, but like let's bring something fucking new to the table. Let's bring entrepreneurs and enthusiasts and collectors who are throwing down on their own side projects. And some in some cases they're probably like Baltic sell 50,000 watches. It's a big brand. So yeah, there's I was super glad that became a big part of that at the time.
Yeah, no, it's amazing because you're being able to bring these brands to the mass market and let them know how amazing they truly are. And that's awesome. Yeah.
Well, without that 50% retailer markup, you're already winning.
Absolutely. Well, one of the things that a lot of people want to know is your journey. What got you into watches
Mm-hmm.
in the first place? What was your first watch, right? What gets you excited about watches and what has your journey been in the watch world?
Um, Aman, my my journey and my space in the watch world and my persona in the watch world is enabling and creating room for the people that aren't watch people, because I'm not a watch person. I love watches deeply. I found a way to keep them interesting day to day, but my journey is I'm a journalist. I'm a generalist. I'm a publisher. I'm a storyteller. Like they were my skills. I studied literature and law at university. At that point, I was interested in music. I didn't give a fuck about watches. I wasn't interested in watches. I was in no forums. It's for all, like, I represent the people that come to watches from a completely tangential place, somewhere far, far away, whether it's something completely unrelated to watches, and then find that these things are addictive. These things, this is an itch that you can never properly scratch. And I want to create a sense of welcome and a sense of inclusion for people who come to watches in non-traditional or in non-geeky ways. And I love the watch geeks. I have become a watch geek, so I am one of you. But I really am the sort of person that's much more into fitness, much more into music. Like all Jerome from Sirica and I talked about for the last 2 hours is John Mayall, his passing. R.I.P. John Mayall, one of the great blues progenitors, more than a guitarist. He took Eric Clapton in when Eric Clapton wanted to cancel his career at 18 years old. Like, I'm a music person. This is my greatest passion. But my journey in watches is that I created a way into watches that had the wind at my back as soon as I started. Like, as soon as I started talking about watches on Time and Tide in 2013, 14, there were a lot of people who came with me because they were like, this guy's more like me. I'm not a watch geek. I don't know anything about Reddit. I don't know anything about forums. I don't read Hodinkee. I don't know what Hodinkee is. Like, what is this guy about? Because this is a bit more accessible to me. So I created a new door for people to come through. And I still want that door to be me, which is, you don't have to be a watch geek. You don't have to know anything about reference numbers or spec sheets or chronometry or horology. You just, if you're interested in watches, you like them, you're kind of curious, I'm your guy. And that's my journey, is proof that you can have an increasingly big amount of space in this industry if you are authentic with the unique way you come to watches. Because what you find is a lot of watch people have a sort of a generic backstory. Oh, I was always into watches. My dad had a watch and I wanted to watch this when I was a kid, and I've always aspired to this, and I started collecting that. It's just, none of that relates to my story, which is much more about the fact that I saw them on rock stars and movie stars and read about them in war books, and I had an interest. But it's a non-traditional journey, which has led to a non-traditional publication, which has led to a non-traditional watch studio, which is up there in that building behind me, which is going to open its doors in a few months and welcome people in who no one will feel like they don't belong there, because the bar is super low. You can just walk in and be like, hey, I saw you on the internet, or I've heard about this thing, or you don't have to know what a balance wheel is to feel at home at Time and Tide or a space. So long answer, but basically I just want to get across that so often these superhero backstories of watch people is generic. It's the same kind of things. For me, I had no interest in watches until I saw a Panerai in like 2006. And I was like, that is a beautiful thing. That is a beautiful object. I love the design of this watch. I want to have that as a symbol of success. So the year that I said to myself, the year you make six figures in publishing, you should get a Panerai. So luckily that happened quickly because of a few good turns. And I did a book about guitars. I did a book about music that led to this success. And I had a Panerai. And then I thought, okay, that's done. I'll just move on to another thing now. And then I was like, Jesus Christ, I'm hooked.
Yeah, it's
So that's the short
it's a
answer, but it's
vicious
also,
cycle, isn't it?
I need to give you the bigger picture, because I just feel like what I really want people to, anyone who touches for anyone who sees me at About Effing Time or sees Time and Tide or comes to the studio, it's open arms to people that through, especially the last few years, have discovered an interest in, but maybe they feel there's just no way I'd go to a get together. I'm going to get shamed. I don't. I don't know how superlative chronometer differs from metas. I don't belong with those people. It's like, just come to us then.
Well, that's amazing, and that's one of the things that I personally feel as well. If somebody's wearing a $60 Casio, they are just as much of a watch person, or could be just as much of a watch person as somebody that's got a Daytona on their wrist, or even
Yeah,
a Richard Mille. And sometimes, they're more of watch people because, for them, the $60 watch is something to do with their identity, whereas, having a Rolex or something more is just you do it
it's
because
conformity versus individualism, or and again, there's nothing wrong with that either. Like I keep selling out of Rolex and then wanting to buy back in. So like I get the appeal of the simple kind of signifier, but you can come to us with anything you want. You're welcome. And I personally, yeah, I'm not really a get together guy. I'd rather I'd rather get together over something else, and then I'd rather be at a gig. Like a couple of nights ago, I went to a Russell Crowe gig, and then I'm sitting on a couch with Russell Crowe, and we're talking about the watch he's wearing, and we've known each other a little while, but we come together through music and acting and other things, and then the watches are the part that's like, and also this. So
that's pretty amazing.
yeah.
So being so knowledgeable about the watch industry, what are some things that you're excited about for the future of watches?
Mm. Look, I'm excited about the downturn. I think the downturn leads to creativity. The downturn leads to breaking rules. Like the high is done. Everyone, all the groups are down. 9% at Swatch Group and 13% at LVMH. So you're going to see brands being more punchy. They're going to actually start trying. So I think that what I'm looking forward to is a meaner and leaner period, because in a boom period, brands just keep pumping out the hits. It's
Yep.
like when any band gets popular and they're Coldplay, you can just keep releasing stuff. It's kind of the same, and the high continues. But then in a downturn, you need to actually get to work, and you need to compete with the micro brands. We've seen some epic success from totally unknown brands, like Toledano and Chan and Oma and others that are doing really cool things, super out of the box. I wrote a piece for Watch Pro saying Tomb Raider, calling them Tomb Raiders, because they're breaking into the archives of Rolex with the Midas, and I mean, there's multiple watches that Onoma is inspired by, but equally they're their own thing, and they're really bringing some heat. And the brands are just gonna have to wake up. They're gonna have to fight pound for pound, and there's nothing. Sometimes getting relegated is just what you need to start trying again. So I'm excited about it.
When you get into that level of comfort, you don't push yourself, right? And now brands are being
Yeah, well,
forced to
success
push.
teaches you nothing, right? Failure teaches you everything. So I think these brands that have just and even sorry about the noise, even seeing Trinity brands just riding off years and years of pandemic boom, it's like, hang on, things are coming back for everyone. This is going to be fun. And I think the year before, Rolex's collection in 2023 was the About Effing Time stuff we did around the Rolex collection. That was just great timing. We really got a chance to dig into that. But that was the brand actually trying to do something different.
Yep.
And as much as at the time we were like, what is this ayahuasca retreat that everyone's gone on? It was great. It was fun. It gave us something to talk about, and it gave us probably a bit of a sense that, oh yeah, these big brands can still do unexpected things.
Yeah, and Rolex definitely is one that did that, where they're adding more creative models to their lineup. They're experimenting more, and they're trying to add more complications back, which is good to see.
Yeah, I think the 1908 is going to be the vehicle for them to really dig back into some of their historic achievements that are overlooked and that haven't really been a part of their story. So I have some hopes for the 1908 being the platform for that. But look, titanium Yachtmaster would be nice as well. There's, as in that shows that we're going to potentially see a titanium sub, and I think they're going to continue. All Rolex have to do is a 1% evolution for the world to go crazy, and I think we're going to continue to lap up whatever they do. It's even 1% different, but that's better than years where there's been 0%. Like there's been years of dial variations, and you wouldn't even call it a single percent. So I'm positive.
So maybe we can look at those years where there haven't been much changes. So in the last 5 years, like we said, with the pandemic boom, brands were kind of just staying status quo, pushing out the hits. Were there any brands during the last 5 years that truly surprised you with what they were doing? Were there any brands that you saw that were doing something different?
If I could pick out one brand, I would say IWC. I thought that the changing of the guard from George Kern to Chris Granger Air, and then just how strident Chris was in the pandemic to connect. Like he made himself really available. Reynald from Amiga was the same. They both really got in there and said, "Look, let's do a Zoom call and let's bring your audience in on a chat and let's go." I thought that was really impressive, but particularly IWC, I think that they've got some flack for maybe not meeting the market on the Ingenieur in terms of price, even though there was a reason for that. I think that kind of makes sense, but I think that what they did with the coloured ceramic pilots and really bringing back a strong brand sensibility, I thought that was a standout. In a very drab period in the pandemic where the brands were just caught stone cold static. Like it was such a moment of truth where you saw a lot of brands just didn't say anything, didn't do anything. They didn't communicate. They cut their marketing. I thought IWC really smashed it in the pandemic. And I hope that, I hope that other people feel as positively as I did about those ceramic pilots. I thought that was a nice change up, and I did like the openness that they had, that Chris had in particular, to communicating through a tough time. So yeah, that would be my favorite brand from the pandemic era. But there were a lot of brands that just went completely missing, and I feel like that that was a mistake. But we're in a different time now, and I think it'll be another moment of truth the next 12 months. The middle market is most vulnerable. You have the AP Patek, Vacheron, Rolex world is sort of insulated by a 20% buffer. Like they all went up minimum 20% in terms of above RRP for that period. So they've got some fat, but there are definitely some middle market brands, including RWC, that they've got it ahead of them to figure out how they play the tough months and years that are ahead.
No, that's awesome. Yeah, let's see what the next year holds for the watch world, right? Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe we can switch gears a little bit and talk about
Sure.
Time&Tide and kind of what we can look forward to in the future.
Well, London, I've moved my whole family here from Australia. We're all in on this concept of the Discovery Studio. We think that people are hungry for experience. We think people are hungry for education. We think people are hungry for community. We think people are hungry for brands they can't get and can't touch in person. I touched my first Serica today. I've seen them on. I've seen a diver on one of my team members years ago, and I was super impressed by it. It had a sort of a P01 kind of lug and bracelet concept. Like that Milanese bracelet is quite stiff, so it needs a articulating piece to make it fit with the case, which I thought was quite interesting. And I kind of maybe thought it was a niche thing initially, but this is the thing, Aman. Like, are you curious about Anoma and Toledano and Chan and Berneron and Serica? This is what I'm most excited about, is that if you're curious about these things and you can get to London, you're going to be able to come and try them and look at them and learn more about them. So I'm really excited about that. I'm really excited about Tribe, which is a channel that is in its very, very early infancy. We've gone from I guess, being a big mainstream player with at the main Time&Tide channel has a couple of 100,000 followers, and that's all good. But we're starting again at zero. I think we've got like 800 followers on Tribe, but Tribe's going to be our big play to people are hungry for content that is just more conversational, that's more raw and unedited, and they want to be a part of that discourse, the conversation that goes alongside the releases. So Tribe is our way of putting the Time&Tide tribe, about whatever it is, 20, 30 staff, depending on whether you count retail sales. We've got a decent tribe of people working for the business, and they're having these conversations every day that are so cool. And I'm listening to them go, I'm looking at our WhatsApp channels going, people would totally tune in for this. So Tribe is going to be a really fun place to be. And of course, it's kind of where I will just call RJ about an Amiga release, or I'll call Cranny Oates about a new Red Bar release, or I'll call Jerome from Serica about what's ahead for them, or I'll call Chris Granger-Air from RWC and say, tell me more about the F1 movie and how you're involved. Is that really a green dial Ingenieur SL Jumbo from 76? Like, all of these side discussions that we have every day are going to be platformed on Tribe. So I would love everyone who's watching this to get on Tribe, because we realized through About Effing Time that kind of more honest and just candid conversation is, if you're bringing something, if you've got an expert standing, like Adrian had his vibe, George had his vibe, I had mine, it really probably gave us a bit of a wake-up call that kind of conversation is lacking. So Tribe, Time&Tide Tribe on YouTube and Instagram is where we're at.
Question about effing time. Actually, a couple of
Just
questions.
don't ask me why it ended, okay?
I was just gonna ask you that, so I won't get into that then.
No, I
But
can answer that. I mean, look, I don't want to say that I'm not going to answer that for any. I don't want to create any mistake that isn't there, because I think, who was it? Watch Pro did a story. No, Watch Pro did a story on us last week, which is very kind of them. But talking about the new studio, but it's just summed up by, nobody knew at the point that we finished About Effing Time in December that I was about to be completely swamped by my relocation. I have 3 girls under 10. Like, I'm a proper girl dad. Like, I'm a dad before anything. So that's being there, showing up for, being available, emotionally available to my kids. The studio, finding this space, which is in the heart of Oxford Circus. Like, I'm literally 150 meters from Oxford Circus Station right now. This has just been incredibly demanding. Adrian wasn't putting out videos for 18 months because of About Effing Time. George was squeezing it in a crazy schedule, because he actually works at JCB as well as does his own thing. So no one knows he has a double life. So it was just a sheer tap out of we just, something's got to give. And we were still feeling the magic. And if you watch that Christmas episode, you'll see it. People can say there's a celebrity divorce as much as they want, but you can't fake this shit. Like, we were live on YouTube doing a Christmas party together as our last hurrah, and it was the same as it always was. So there was no issues between us. It was purely, I needed time for my kids, I needed time for my business, and it just wasn't coming.
no, that makes complete sense. Thanks for sharing that. Now,
that's cool, man.
A question that I had about the title: is it about effing time that somebody did something like this, or is it about effing time, as in it's about timepieces?
Oh, Aman, surely you get that the double entendre is the magic. Yeah. That was the beauty of it. We felt that it was about effing time, that something like this existed. And like, as they say, if something, I think it was Oscar Wilde who they said to him every time he entered America, they said, do you have anything to declare? And he said, only my genius. And then they said, why do you carry all these books? And he says, well, if no one's writing good books, then I have to write a diary. So it was the same kind of theory of, this kind of show that we all want doesn't exist, we should just do it. So, because we realized that we did a video together by accident at Watches and Wonders 2022, and we just ran into each other in a hallway. And I say to Marcus, "Hey, start filming." And after, I don't know, 3 people said you should do a podcast. We were like, that was really fun. So there was something that we wanted to exist that didn't exist, so we did it, and that was it was about Effing Time that existed, and it was about.
Hey, Aman, thank you so much for that chat. It was awesome to connect with the Canadian watch community. As an Aussie, like I said, I feel a kinship with us non-Americans and non-Brits. Go well, everyone. And if you have any questions or if you want to follow up personally, you can always hit me on Andrew_McUtchen on Instagram. Otherwise, keep rocking Canada, and let's keep sticking it up the bigger countries. See you soon.